Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. So, a lot can be taken away from the fight last night between Bivol and Canelo. Really, for Devin Haney. Because Devin Haney is going into a similar situation to what Bivol went into last night. You're going into a situation where he's going to have to figure out how to win a fight that basically he's not supposed to win. So how to figure out how to win in a no-win situation. Now, with Devin Haney, for those of you, if you don't know, he's getting ready to go and fight Kambosos down in Australia. And Devin Haney, if he wins the fight, he has to do a rematch in Australia. Now, Devin Haney and his dad, they were fully aware of what's expected of them if they were going to make the fight. So his dad said with confidence that they knew what they were getting into with the contracts. They knew the position they were in. They knew that Kambosos, for the most part, he had what they wanted. So they felt that he had the leveraging power. And they had no issue going down under, fighting in front of the Aussie fans and the Greek fans. And then after beating him, coming back in front of the Aussie fans and Greek fans and fighting Australia again, saying how that's something that they look forward to. Now, that's a bit of hyperbole, if you ask me. Kambosos was quick to clear that up, saying they had no choice. You either took the fight underneath his terms, or there would be no fight. Which is basically how it was. So Devin Haney and his dad weren't looking forward to coming down to Australia. And maybe the first fight, it is what it is. But the second fight, if they win, the rematch, no, that's not something that they were. Blue lights bother me. That's not something they were looking forward to. But that being said, it's all set in stone. They're getting ready to go down there in a couple months. And I did a video on Devin Haney saying that basically we should already show him what the loss. He might as well just, as soon as he arrives in Australia, put that WBC belt of his and the pouch of one of those marsupials and let him just bounce off into the sunset because he's not going to get it back. And I meant that. Until I watched Dimitri Bivol last night perform against Canelo. And then I said, okay, this is perfect. This is a perfect lead-in to a video about how Devin Haney can win without knocking out Kambosos. Now, this is the thing. There's been some back and forth between myself, people on the channel, people outside of this community, friends of mine, where we have discussions on a personal level. 95% of the people I talk to don't believe Devin Haney can knock out Kambosos. But there's a concentric few who genuinely feel that Devin Haney has knockout power. Now, I know there was, 3 or 4 fights back, Devin Haney got in the ring with this guy. He caught him a good shot, then came back and caught him with an overhand right. Very powerful shot, knocked the guy out. So Devin Haney, if he gets you there as a sitting duck and he kind of really winds up that right hand, then he can hurt you. But you got to look at what was in front of Devin Haney. Now, I'm not trying to take anything away from him. I'm just being honest. Kambosos was not that fighter who Haney faced like 3 or 4 fights ago where he knocked him out. He knocked him out, that he didn't just daze him when he hit him with that shot. He had already hurt him. But that shot he hit him with, he put him out, okay? But the guy was already hurt. And he didn't see the punch coming because he was already hurt. But Devin Haney, when I say he wound up that right hand and let it go, and he connected. So good on him. But let's not compare anyone Devin Haney's fought to Kambosos. Okay? We talk about Jorge Linares. Linares isn't the same. He's not. He can't box like Kambosos. Linares can't box like Haney. But Linares has power. And you see what happens when Devin Haney gets touched a little bit. He doesn't like it. Okay? He doesn't respond well. When Jojo Diaz fought, when he fought Devin Haney didn't like when Jojo Diaz was putting that pressure on him and touching him up. And I personally think Jojo Diaz was one shot away from really clipping Devin Haney. Devin Haney in his fights, especially now that he's starting to step up competition, he doesn't look very comfortable when exchanges start happening. And I think that's because Devin Haney is what he's doing in fights right now, which I don't think he can afford to do going to Australia, is what Demetrius Andre started doing about 5 or 6 fights ago, is trying to hold his ground and prove that he has power and that he can hurt opponents. Now, Demetrius Andre is a totally different animal. He can crack. He can fight. He's awkward, but he can fight. Devin Haney can box. And he's willing to get into these exchanges. But that's not where Devin Haney needs to be. That's not his game. So he's trying to prove a point that he can fight, that he's, like he says, I'm a real dog. Hey, man, know what you know, but don't show what you know. See, that's when people get in trouble. You know, it's for you to know. It's not for everybody else. You just get in there, make your job easy, and win the fight. But with him going to Australia to fight Kambosos, I pray that he's not trying to show what he knows as far as being a dog and getting into a firefight with the Australian Manny Pacquiao. Because that's what the hell Kambosos is. He's the Australian Manny Pacquiao. Ferocious, he's not intimidated by nothing, fears nothing, and he's coming in there to fight for Australia and for the Greeks. He is not going to be intimidated by Devin Haney. If anything, Devin Haney's going to find himself out there in a firefight where Devin Haney's going to lose. And I just think Devin Haney, in order to really have a chance, he's going to have to pull off the performance of his life like what Bivol did against Canelo. He should be paying attention and taking notes. I pray, I hope he did. I hope he watches that video about 25 times to see what Bivol did. What Bivol did in that fight. If Haney can do it, I still think they're going to rob him, but he's going to have to not let Kambosos get into his rhythm. Not let him get into his pace. He's going to have to use his legs and keep that stick out there. Stick is a jab. Throw that jab. As soon as Kambosos looks like he wants to do something, he's got to be able to get out of range, catch him, counter him, and just keep that jab on him and keep Kambosos guessing, getting frustrated. And Devin Haney has been able to do that to a lot of his opponents. But this is the problem, okay? Let's say he does that for the first 6 rounds. Devin Haney's going to get tired before Kambosos will get tired. I don't know when Devin Haney is going down to Australia, but not everybody adjusts or acclimates to the different time schedule fast enough for a fight. Some people it takes maybe 2 days. They try to stay up on the long flight, or when they land, they don't go to sleep, they stay up. Especially if they land during the day, they stay up. And then, the body just shuts down around nighttime. Then they get up in the morning. And then after like 48 hours, they're on schedule for the country that they're visiting. But some people, it just doesn't happen. Especially if they have friends or family that they're trying to communicate with, and, for some reason trying to be on the same, catch them at a certain time. There's a lot of things where Devin Haney and his team are going to have to be very responsible and disciplined, which I think they will. But Devin Haney's going to have to be able to go every second of every round for 12 rounds against a person like Kambosos, who can go every second of every round for 12 rounds. When Devin Haney starts to slow down, Kambosos is going to keep picking up the pace. And this is why this is a horrible matchup for Devin Haney stylistically. There's a reason why Kambosos was out there staying with Manny Pacquiao in those Pacquiao camps, just like Sean Porter. You got to understand, these guys can fight. Kambosos, you really think he's going to, even if it was stateside, he's going to get in the ring and just sit there and let Devin Haney just outbox him? Kambosos can box. He can fight. He can hit. He can crack. You know, he beat Mickey Bay when Mickey Bay was looking invincible. So a lot of you probably don't even know who the hell Mickey Bay is. And then he comes and look what happened with Teofimo Lopez. Yeah, Teofimo Lopez had ups and downs this quarter. His dad really wasn't advising him right. But I was calling that. I was calling that way before the fight happened. Way before the fight happened, I was calling that. Because you could see when they were having the press conferences, Kambosos wasn't given an inch. When Teofimo took off his shirt, was trying to parade around like Tarzan or whatever, and Kambosos threw his shoulder into him, I said right there, the fight's over. I said right there, the fight's over. Kambosos won. I said Teofimo Lopez thought he was going to intimidate him. I guess he thought he looked cool. Kambosos wasn't going for that. Nah, man, the Aussie wasn't trying to hear it. And I said right then, different mentality. This man here is ready to die. This man does not care. Like I really feel Kambosos would have punched Teofimo in the mouth because he was just there. You know what I mean? So now you look at him going there with Haney. Yeah, Haney's not a disrespectful fighter. He'll talk a little trash, but there's nowhere on the level of Teofimo's dad. You know, that's just a whole nother level of disrespect. But at the same time, Kambosos is a guy who does so many things well. He has a way he hides that sneaky right hand. He can throw it straight. He can loop it. He can throw it from the top, and then he can shoot it as an uppercut from below. And his jab. And he throws combinations. He is a nightmare for Devin Haney. Devin Haney needs someone who just kind of comes forward, looks to get inside and let his shots off. Kambosos can fight from the outside or from the inside. Stylistically, they match up very well as far as height, reach, everything. Power-wise, got to give the edge to Kambosos. So Haney's going to have to do like Bivol. Control the space, control the range. Not let Kambosos get into his rhythm like Bivol. Anytime Canelo looked like he was trying to, it looked like he landed a shot or just got close enough to him, Bivol rattled off, hard, intelligent combinations. And most of the time when he threw, half of his shots were landing on Canelo. Canelo had his guard up, and he had good defense. But he was getting touched. Bivol was landing in the 10 digits. Something, and Canelo couldn't get out of the single digits. And that's just something that you're not used to seeing when someone fights Canelo. But it's a mentality, it's a right strategy. And with Devin Haney, I just don't think he's going to be able to shoot that jab, drop the right hand behind it, use his legs to get out the way and just outbox Kambosos. That's not going to work over there. What Bivol did is he said, okay, I know these people are going to rob me, but I'm going to beat this man down so convincingly, even if he's catching my shots, I'm still letting my hands go. Something's going to get through there, and if not, anyway, it creates a picture to the judge that I'm dominating. And that's what he did. He fought every second of every round. And Devin Haney should be paying attention to that. Because Dimitri Bivol, the fact that the first 4 rounds, all the judges had to score the same. 4 rounds to Canelo, 0 rounds to Bivol. Madness, man. So what Bivol was doing, they weren't giving him any credit for it. Like, I think they already figured, well, just first 4 rounds, it should be kind of close because both fighters are fresh. And Canelo did come out, a little bit fast. But he was getting countered left and right, man. Left and right. His head was getting snapped. In that first round, Bivol hit him Bivol was moving and threw a jab. Canelo was unexpected, and Canelo's head snapped back. Devin Haney's going to have to do stuff like that from the very first round. Stuff to get the judge's attention. He's going to have to foot stomp that he's there for a reason. He's going to have to dominate. He can't go in there looking for a close decision win. It's not going to happen. They don't want to give him that fight. It is what it is. Like, I really hope he took notes. You look at what Bivol did. Just, letting his hands go, getting him on the rope, damaging. Like if he would have put his foot on the gas, he could have got Canelo out of there. But does Devin Haney really have that ability? Canelo has heavy feet. He counters. He throws 1 or 2 shots at a time. Kambosos rattles off combination. He can fight. A man can fight 20 rounds, 23-minute rounds, and not get tired. So the fight between Devin Haney and Kambosos is one. When you look at Devin Haney and Kambosos, you look at Bivol and Canelo. The fight for Devin Haney and Kambosos is even more of a dangerous fight for Haney than Canelo was for Bivol. So that's the first problem that Devin Haney has. He's going into a fight against someone that is a huge problem for him as far as a fight. With Bivol and Canelo, that wasn't so much the case. At least those of us who understand boxing knew that wasn't the case. I said that from the jump. This shit's not going to work. There's no way in the world Canelo's going to beat him. Only way is to rob him, and they tried to rob him. So the first thing is, Bivol's fight with Canelo wasn't a tough fight for him from the rip. With Devin Haney and Kambosos, out the gate, this is the problem. It's probably one of the most difficult fight Haney's been in. So right there, things aren't looking good for him. The second thing is with Devin Haney and Bivol. Bivol was able to really pick up the pace, let his hands go, and he fought hard every second of the round. From the middle rounds to the end of that fight, Bivol was letting his hands go, and Canelo didn't like what was coming at him. When it comes to Devin Haney and Kambosos, Devin Haney tends to slow down and get weaker in the mid to late rounds. Kambosos gets stronger and picks up the pace. If he smells blood, he will turn up the heat. Same way Bivol did. So Devin Haney, again, that's the second thing that's going to be problematic for Devin Haney. The third thing, right, is the crowd. I can't see an Australian cheering for Devin Haney. With Canelo and Bivol, one thing about those fans, they like fighting. They like fighters. And I think a lot of the fans who were there, like half of them, they're going to support their countrymen. They love Canelo. The fans who came out, then we're talking about the Mexican fans as well. But when they see someone who's fighting, they couldn't help, man. They were cheering and rooting for Bivol at the end. Like they want to take pictures with him. So that crowd is biased, but if you're a fighter, those Mexican fans, you'll be able to pick them up as fans. They'll come over to your side, and that's what happened. Them Australians, ain't nobody coming over to Devin Haney's side. It doesn't matter what he's doing in that ring. I personally don't think he stands a chance in hell at gaining any fans if he's out there doing something. See, because when the alcohol gets in the mix, man, when you're talking about the English patrons who are at sporting events, you're talking about the Australian patrons at sporting events, things start going crazy. You know what I'm saying? And with Devin Haney, what I think is, even if he does have some success, no one's going to cheer him on. I think when he gets out that ring and he's walking back to the dressing room, they're going to have to cover him up in a towel because they're going to be pelting beer and everything else at Devin Haney. I would hope that doesn't happen, but I can see that happening. If he wins, definitely see that happening. If he loses, I can still see that happening. And it's just the crowd, the alcohol, and how they feel about their athletes. So Devin Haney is just in a lose-lose situation. And I don't think Devin Haney could fight like Bivol fought against Canelo. And Bivol fight against Canelo was an easier fight than what Haney has. So in the situation, Haney is Bivol, Kambosos is Canelo. But the thing is with Haney, he's got a tougher fighter in front of him than what Bivol had in front of him last night. And that's a problem. It's sad, man. It's just not going to be good. But got to take notes and figure it out, because he's got to basically beat this man, get knockdowns, just basically make it to where Kambosos isn't landing but in the single digits against him. He's got to be landing in the double digits. And it's got to be such a convincing win that those judges who don't want to give him the win, like they know that if they don't score that fight, it can make it as close as they want, because they still got to live in Australia, You guys remember during one of the World Cups, I think it was in Colombia, one of the guys actually scored on his own team. He kicked it in his goal. Something happened. And then he went back home. Someone came and killed him. So those judges, they got to be careful when they start dealing with these fans and these fanatics. If they come and show it as a shutout for Haney to win, you better believe they're going to have to hide. They're going to have to go into the damn protective custody, because those Aussie fans aren't going to try to hear that. Now, I say that kind of making jokes, but with Devin Haney, it's just really unfortunate. So even if he wins, right? So let's say he wins, which I'm just kind of, just putting everything out there of the obstacles, the impediments he has to overcome for just the first fight. So let's say for some reason he gets through, right? I don't think he will. I don't think he can do it. I just don't think so. It's because of what he has in front of him, okay? And then all of these external factors he has to deal with. I just don't see Devin Haney doing it. But let's say it happens. He somehow, stars line up, the boxing gods look down on him and touch him. He gets the win, okay? Devin Haney gets the win. Now, I want to make sure you guys are clear on this. I think Devin Haney is a phenomenal fighter. He's not knocking Kambosos out. He's not going to go down there and outbox Kambosos and win a decision. Like, the only chance he has in the fight is to outbox him, because he can't knock him out. And I just don't see that happening. But anyway, let's say somehow, we're just going to say he beats him the first fight. The second fight, got to fight him in Australia again. What are the chances of him winning 2 fights in Australia by decision? Because we know he's not knocking out. So let's not even entertain the knockout. Impossible. Impossible. It's gone. Let's not even think about that, right? How in the world, and you can leave this in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're still with me. How in the world does Haney go to another country and win 2 fights by decision? See? You tell me how he does that. What can he do? Okay, we already know he's not knocking him out. So that can't happen. Okay, there's no way in the world he can knock him out. How in the world does Haney go over there and win 2 fights? I mean, they just really set my boy up to lose. And so let's just stop there and say, okay, he wins both of those fights, okay? Which we know it's not going to happen. It's impossible. But let's say for some reason, hey, man, he made the impossible possible. Devin Haney is something special that we didn't think he was. Now, he's a good fighter, don't get me wrong, but he all of a sudden goes out there and develops this knockout power. And then now he has to fight Lomachenko. So this is where it's even more frustrating for me, just as someone who enjoys boxing and someone who's all about the fairness in boxing. So now Devin Haney has to go and fight Lomachenko. if Lomachenko is still around and still in his winning ways, I don't know what's going to happen. He's Ukraine and everything else going on. It's Lomachenko's in a tough spot. But let's say everything works out. Lomachenko's ready to fight him. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how rigorous the schedule is for Devin Haney. Because if he fights Kambosos, then they fight again in a rematch. Maybe that's 6 months after. Then after he gets that fight, he probably is going to want to relax and hang out. But maybe he can't because now 6 months after that, he has to fight Lomachenko. And if they have that fight, I'm sure Top Rank has it set up, but it's going to be a rematch. So then if he goes into a rematch, do you see what I'm saying? Training, fight. Train, fight. Train, fight. Where is he going to get vacation time? Where is he going to get a break? Where? And the thing is, I think they really put him on this kind of accelerated path to greatness? So I just think the way this whole thing has been laid out has just been traps and pitfalls that at some point Devin Haney, no matter how intelligent he is, his dad is, his team, the awareness they bring to the table, with all of these pitfalls, all of these traps that are laid out for like the next 4 fights. Because you remember, Bob Arum has control of everything when it comes to Devin Haney. Even if Devin Haney gets through the first fight with Kambosos, the second fight with Kambosos, the first fight with Lomachenko, and if he's obligated to do a rematch with Lomachenko, can he persevere? Does he have the spiritual stamina, mental stamina, emotional stamina, physical stamina to get through 4 fights on a robust training and fight schedule that's been accelerated? Can he get through that without taking proper time off to reconstitute? That's what I'm telling you. I just think it has problem written all over it. This whole deal that they struck has problem written all over it. And I think the problem really starts when he goes over there for this first fight. I just think they're going to take everything off that boy. They're going to take his belt, take his undefeated record. They're going to take his draws. They're going to take his socks. They're going to take everything from him. He's going to come back to the States extremely miserable and cold. And sad to see, but you guys can leave your comments below. And I tend to think that when we see the robberies happen, like Jeff Horn, and it's certain parts of Australia, and I guess where corruption is a bit more kind of alive, and they talk about the boxing commissions, and when it's such a high visibility event that there are certain meetings, certain discussions, and things to do their best to preclude, to shield, to protect the event and the fighters from any of that. Because you better believe those conversations, no matter what I think about Bob Arum or anyone else does, I think Bob Arum is smart enough to be like, hey. But then again, he's out there with this Kinahan guy, so, that's a whole nother video, that Kambosos should be worried about about winning the fight, because now Top Rank and Kinahan, they got the judges corrupt so Devin Haney can get the win in Australia. So that's a whole nother spin on it, right? I may do a video on that. I wasn't even thinking that way. So, but I think Bob Arum is gonna at least bring that up, the concerns and stuff like that, and try to make sure that from those entities here stateside that are going to be involved and oversee a lot of that, or communicate with those entities there down under, to make sure that everyone's concerns are aired, are discussed, and kind of resolve or put them at ease. But at the end of the day, if Devin Haney can fight like Bivol fought last night against Canelo, then I think Devin Haney could win the fight in Australia. But it has to be so one-sided, like what we saw last night. So one-sided that people will feel like shame as they go home, and because you can't leave your mind behind, and the rest of their life they're gonna have that stuff on their brain, like, damn, I robbed this kid, and they know that the man won the fight. But I just don't think Devin Haney could pull off a performance like what Bivol did, because Bivol had a much easier opponent in front of him. And I'm not saying Canelo's easy, but for Bivol, it was easy. But Devin Haney doesn't have that kind of situation. He's up against a problem. And I think that's what Devin Haney had. I think that's what he has. Come fight night with Kambosos, I think he has a problem with that horrible contract that he went and signed with Top Rank. And I think he has a problem over the next couple of years, even if he's getting through the two Kambosos fights and goes into the Lomachenko fight. I think he has a problem with his training schedule, with how accelerated they have him going into fights. And I think he has a problem with finding some downtime to reconstitute. And all in all, I think that's going to result in Devin Haney taking a couple losses before he exits this agreement with Top Rank. And I just think that sucks for him, because he cannot win. I'm going to go ahead and say that. Some people are going to disagree with me. I'm not trying to bad talk the young man. I just think it's a lose-lose. Everything stinks. It's just a bad situation, man. And I think they should have sat back and really thought this out. There's no need to. I know he wants to be undisputed, but the opportunity may have never come around again, at least in that weight division. But you got to have. He must know something I don't, because I just wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have done it. Nah, it's not worth it. He's already making good money. Financially, him and his dad are set. They don't need anything. He doesn't need anything. This man's set for the rest of his life already. They're very smart people. His dad is a smart man. His dad loves his son. Everything's going good. Why come now and jump ship to go out here and chase something? Put yourself in a situation that you just can't win. But I don't know. Leave your comments below. Let me know your opinion, man. Devin Haney, hope you took notes on how to win a fight in a no-win situation like Bivol. But again, it's not going to be easy. That being said, you guys take care. Like and subscribe. I'm in the breeze.